Okay, welcome everyone to the Nutrition for Skin Masterclass. I'm very excited to bring all of this information to you and feel really privileged that you're all joining me. I know that for people in lockdown, this this might be something that you're joining me live that you didn't have plans to, so thank you. I am Emily. I am a naturopath. I've got over 10 years experience in the naturopathic industry, and I've been consulting as a naturopath for a bit over 7 years now. Initially, I started out in the industry just working with anything and everything. I treated a lot of just general issues and have operated practices across Queensland. So my journey into skin health started and was really inspired by patients that I treated. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the one that really changed the trajectory for me. But my entire purpose as a naturopath is to help you get off the merry-go-round of problem skin. I know personally what it's like having had eczema on my face, which developed in my mid-20s, which is not very fair and not very common. And I know the frustration, obviously, of trying to get help and being offered the same sorts of solutions, which are not really actually rectifying the problem. So this is not only the issue, obviously, with eczema, but also with acne. We're given solutions that are not investigating or treating the cause. And often people are not getting results, especially in the long term, and are usually ending up with issues that require even further treatment once they stop particular medications. So my whole kind of journey and message is to help educate and inform you about what can drive problem skin so that you have the power to be able to make different choices, because we can only work with the information that we have at the time to make our decisions. And in my opinion, there's a lot of information about problem skin that no one talks about. So I hope that you take a lot from tonight, and I'd love to know what the standout information is for you at the end of the masterclass. So this is the beautiful person who changed my trajectory as a naturopath and propelled me into specializing in skin. This is my sister Hannah. So Hannah had acne as a teenager. She did everything that any person would do with acne. This was back when Proactive was all over the commercials. We had many bleached towels from Proactive and Benzac. She has been on many, many, many rounds of antibiotics, which are usually prescribed as the first or second line of treatment in conventional medicine for acne. She was then put on the pill to help to manage her acne, which worked whilst she took the pill. She had to try to come off the pill twice and ended up back on it because she was suffering with post-pill acne. And when she moved back to Australia from overseas, she decided that that was the time that she was going to spend as much time as possible treating her skin. In the past, she had seen a naturopath, and this was during the time that I was still studying to be a naturopath, so quite a while ago. And she worked with this naturopath for 2 years. She did a lot of internal work around gut health and a lot of dietary change. And she unfortunately saw no changes in her skin during that period of treatment. During that time, that naturopath did absolutely no testing whatsoever to find what sort of biochemical drivers were there. And this is something that I find quite frustrating, I suppose, within the industry. There is no like set way to work as a naturopath. So it's really important that you end up with the right person when you're seeking one-to-one treatment. Hannah, when she, sorry, I'm just letting people into the room. Hannah, when she moved back to Australia, she moved in with me because she's my sister and we love each other very much. And I watched her go through this battle of coming off the pill, all of the changes that occur in those first few months coming off the pill, and then her really struggling with her skin. She would pretty much cry every day, looking in the mirror was a massive trigger for her. She would, go away on weekends and wake up super early to apply makeup before anyone else had woken up. She didn't have a partner at the time, and she was concerned about how she would manage that, waking up with someone and not feeling comfortable in her skin. She was really restricted in what she could wear as well. She had acne on her back and her chest as well, and that really restricted a lot of her choices of expression. And I have a strict I don't treat family rule, which, as you can see, I broke in this instance. Han was just struggling so much, and I thought, you know what, I think that I can help. But the problem here for me would be, if I can't help your skin, then I will have to quit my career. So eventually I ended up treating her. We did some functional testing around what the drivers were, and we found that there was low estrogen, elevated androgen activity because of the low estrogen, and really high stress markers as well. So I treated that with her one-on-one. And after about 8 months, she was not having hormonal flares anymore. This is her 1 year after treatment. So on the right, you can see, obviously, that's the after pic. She worked not only with me, but also with skin therapists to be able to optimize her skincare regime. And she also received skin needling because she did suffer with some post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation as well. So after treating Hannah and seeing her life completely change, like seeing the sister that I love come out and be her fully expressed self because she felt confident in her skin, changed my life as well as hers, because I really was there with her through the emotional ups and downs that come with skin and come with all the ways that we struggle to express ourselves and feel confident within ourselves when we don't feel like our appearance matches who we are. So this led to me starting to specialize with acne in my previous multimodality clinic. And then obviously the creation of the Acne and Eczema Clinic, because I know that this is my life's work to help people get off that merry-go-round. And I've created a lot of stuff to make that more easy. So since treating Hannah, I've treated thousands of people. And these are some of the results that I have chosen to share based on people who have had the greatest response with nutrition alone, focusing on really specific minerals and vitamins and support required to help to nourish the skin barrier and the skin from within. So what I do works. And the purpose of this evening is to be able to give you more power when it comes to your choices, and to be able to help to fix some of the gaps that are probably there in your nutrition or your supplemental support that I have seen create huge changes for people. And to be quite honest with you, it's not that complicated. So let's get started. Firstly, I wanted to just cover a little bit of the complexity of the skin, because the skin is really not given enough credit for how wonderful it is and all that it does for our body. So the skin is a very complex organ. It's called the integumentary system, and it is a semi-permeable barrier, basically. So things can pass in and out of it. Problems ensue when too much stuff is leaking out of it and too much stuff is getting in. And this is when the skin barrier is impaired. So the skin barrier is referred to as the outer layer of the skin, which is made up of specific skin cells and has a bunch of different protective mechanisms. The skin barrier allows things to be able to pass in and out safely. It helps to reduce the amount of environmental irritant that we're exposed to, because we do have immune cells in our skin. So this is what can trigger off that really vicious cycle with eczema and with becoming more irritated to environmental irritants once the skin barrier is damaged. Our skin also maintains a pH, or so it should. A healthy pH of the skin is around 5.5. And when the pH of the skin changes, then this can influence what bacteria thrive on the skin, which is what can make one more susceptible to particular infections occurring and to particular symptoms like stinging with the application of water, eczema, all those sorts of things. So one of the most important parts of the skin is the production of sebum. So sebum is just a fancy word for skin oil, basically. And sebum is produced by particular cells. And it's actually through the destruction of those cells that sebum is released from the cell. And this is what creates a nice occlusive layer, which is called the lipid bilayer. And this is what helps to give a hydrophilic action to the skin. So obviously where there's oil, water and oil do not mix well together at all. So that lipid bilayer helps to encourage the moisture retention of the skin. And helps to prevent transepidermal water loss, which is referred to sometimes as TEWL, T-E-W-L, because saying transepidermal water loss over and over is not so fun. So this helps to keep water in and keep stuff out. So it's really important that we have healthy sebum and that the quality of our sebum is excellent and that the production of our sebum is excellent as well, because we do need those cells to squish up to create that skin barrier. And we need very healthy sebum in order for cells that are shedding from the skin to not get clogged up and create issues like acne. So our skin cells are very amazing. There's lots of different skin cells and lots of different layers within the skin. I won't get too deep on it because it's a masterclass all on its own, but our skin cells also secrete ceramides and natural moisturizing factors, which is what helps to keep the skin cells nourished and healthy and keep that skin barrier nice and healthy as well. So ultimately, what is very important when we're looking at issues with the skin is that the cell function is great, because that is what allows good sebum production and healthy cell signaling, and that we also have good moisture retention as well. Now, a huge part of the skin, like when we're looking at the actual connective tissue aspect of the skin, most of it is collagen. So we are going to be talking about collagen and how to help to improve natural collagen production through specific nutrients. And we'll also be talking about omega-3s and how this influences the skin barrier, because these are the things that are required in order to influence skin health and change where your skin is currently at. Welcome, new people. So there are lots and lots of different things that affect the skin. To help to compartmentalize that, I created the Clear Skin formula, which I actually created long before I even created the Acne and Eczema Clinic. So the Clear Skin formula is designed to be able to help to show you what different aspects need support in order for healthy skin to be an option for you and to achieve clear skin overall. So there are lots of different things, as you can see, that need to be functioning well in order for the skin to not be problematic. What I see contribute the most to skin conditions is hormones, especially when it comes to acne and sometimes also eczema. Gut health and the microbiome is hugely significant. This is not only because of the nutrients that we require in order to have healthy skin function that we should be getting through our diet, but this also relates to the microbiome of our skin, because our gut health and the microbiome that lives within our gut does influence the skin and inflammatory factors that can affect the skin as well. So I've done an entire masterclass just about gut health, so I won't be going deep on that today. We'll be looking obviously very closely at nutritional deficiencies and some of the things that can impact our ability to utilize nutrients that should be in our diet or in supplements. We also need good digestive function in order to actually rely on nutrition whatsoever. So having an adequately functioning gut is a really important part of this. Ironically, something that I see that is most commonly influencing gut health and our digestive capacity is actually stress. So stress is a really, really big trigger and factor in flares with acne and eczema, and also with lots of other systems within the body that are affected by stress. Our detoxification capacity is very important, especially post-pill, because the poor liver has to deal with everything. So detoxification is really important, because otherwise the lymphatic system, which lives just under the skin, is kind of overburdened with things that other detoxification organs should be taking care of. Immune function is massive. We'll be talking a little bit more about that in regards to zinc. And obviously lifestyle and diet and your skincare routine are very important when it comes to not only the health of your skin, but the long-term management of your skin. So these are things that I focus on with my patients one-on-one in the long term. We're looking to optimize their lifestyle and their diet and their skincare routine so that they can actually keep clear skin for life. As I said, tonight we're focusing on these specific things. So how to optimize absorption of specific nutrients and what can impact specific nutrients being utilized properly, what deficiencies I see most commonly associated with skin problems, and how they are used to improve the skin barrier. And we are going to be talking very specifically about fats, especially omega-3s, the most needed omega. So when we're looking at what nutrients we need for skin health, I've just written down all of the different things that I would bang off to a patient basically about what should be there in your diet. Now, a healthy diet will consist of these things, except probably, obviously vitamin D should be coming from the environment, from sun exposure. Unfortunately, most people aren't getting that either. So be aware that if you have a healthy diet, then what we look at is what could be impacting your utilization of specific minerals that are needed for skin health. If you don't have a healthy diet, then a lot of these minerals and vitamins are going to be missing. And unfortunately, that puts our skin at a compromised state. So most importantly, omega-3 is needed for lipid support. Omega-3, so fats are what make up the cell membrane of all of our cells. And without it, we have poor integrity of our cells, and this can impact the function of the skin cells and therefore the health of the skin as well. We also obviously need omega-3s for lipid support so that our skin can produce the lipid bilayer that is so necessary in normal and healthy skin function. Vitamin C is, wow, we need vitamin C so bad, and it's very much present in a healthy diet, but a lot of people are usually utilizing a lot of vitamin C in their day-to-day repair processes and might not be getting enough through diet alone, especially if you avoid things like citrus and berries and things where it's very readily absorbable. So vitamin C we need in order to actually create collagen, and collagen is what basically makes up most of the skin. So it's really important that we can support natural processes for our body to create collagen, and vitamin C is one of the very integral ingredients for that, as is silica, as is copper, as is zinc. So all of these factors we're looking at in regards to the role that they play in that production of collagen. Collagen is needed for connective tissue integrity and strength. And unfortunately, our collagen production does decrease from about mid-20s, which is incredibly unfair because that's far too young to start actually physically aging. But this it becomes more important in prescriptive support, especially when you're 25 or older. So really, really important for anti-aging benefits. We need zinc for a million things, but especially for wound healing, which is obviously very specific when we're looking at problem skin. We need B vitamins, like the entire B vitamin family, so that our cells can function and replicate properly. A lot of B vitamins will influence the DNA expression of our cells. So it's really important to be supporting the most optimal DNA expression of any cell, but especially our skin cells, considering that they replicate so quickly. We need silica as well for collagen production and also to provide increased strength to connective tissue. Vitamin A is very helpful in the right doses to help to control sebum, especially where there's things like acne and there's overproduction of sebum. Vitamin A can help to regulate the size and activity of sebaceous glands, but it also assists with basement membrane health, which is where a lot of our skin cells are, produced from. We also need vitamin D, which is, honestly, I think I've treated one person in my life who wasn't vitamin D deficient and had eczema. So vitamin D is really, really important, especially when we're looking at eczema and those sorts of immune dysregulation disorders. We need vitamin D for a million things. That's why there's vitamin D receptors on like every single cell. And also for that immune regulation and healing. We need collagen, specific sorts of collagen from the diet, especially, as I said, when we get to 25 or older, and copper as well. So copper is required for collagen production. However, I don't have a lot of recommendations around copper support because I don't see clinically that people are deficient in copper. I've never seen that. I see people are deficient in zinc, and zinc and copper do compete for absorption. Copper is also raised in the body. So tissue levels of copper will raise alongside estrogen. And I do usually see that copper, if anything, is elevated when we look at the ratio of copper to zinc, especially where people have been on hormone therapy like the pill, because that's obviously increasing synthetic estrogen in the body, which has that flow-on effect to copper. So I'm not making recommendations around copper itself. Lots of sources of food that are rich in zinc also have bioavailable copper because nature is smart. But when it comes to supplementation, I don't have those recommendations around copper just because it's not something that I see is as clinically relevant as zinc. So those are the overall nutrients that we require for skin health. In a normal healthy diet, you'll have exposure to all of those things. What I want to really share with you are the things that I see are most deficient and the things that really impact those nutrients, because ultimately our body is so much smarter than we are. Our brains can't even comprehend or understand the complexity of our body, even though we've gotten very far in the last, century with science. But our body knows how to heal. We should never doubt our body's capacity to heal. We just need to provide it the ingredients so that it can do its job. And most of the time, this is the problem when we have these cycles of not healing. It's because our body doesn't have what it requires in order to heal. And when we look at, for example, all of these nutrients, in a healthy diet, you'll be exposed to them, but you need to have a surplus of nutrients in order to heal. And this is something that a lot of people don't really understand. And this is where supplements come into the picture as being able to provide very specific nutrients that can act in a predictable way to encourage healing. When we have really used a lot of our nutritional reserve, either through stress or illness, not eating enough, working out and not eating adequately, all the rest of it, this is what creates that inability to heal, because we just can't draw on that surplus of nutrients. They're not there. And some nutrients that we do require, for example, vitamin C, we don't create it and we don't store it. So it's important to also have that everyday exposure to some of these ingredients. The most common deficiencies that I see are omega-3 and zinc. And I spend all day talking about some of these factors over and over and over with my one-on-one patients. And I thought, it's time to tell the world about this, because there are very specific key things that change your ability to utilize these nutrients. And I have seen massive clinical improvement in patients who we have just worked on rectifying these deficiencies. So my aim is that people can utilize more things to encourage their body's own innate capacity to heal that are specific for skin health. And that hope is that you then don't need to see me one-on-one. A lot of people, especially when I'm doing discovery calls with patients who are querying about working with me one-on-one, they might have eczema. They've never taken fish oil in their life, and they're obviously zinc deficient. And my advice usually is, if you're hesitant about working with me one-on-one, literally take these things and see what happens, because I've seen massive improvement just with things as simple as this, because they're so targeted to the skin. So let's start with omega-3. Omega-3, I refer to omega-3s as well as essential fatty acids, because they are under that umbrella of essential fatty acids. And essential fatty acids are called essential because our body can't create them. They're one of the very few things that our body can't cleverly create out of nothing. So this is why they're deemed essential, because we should have exposure to them daily through the diet. And I think this is also relevant when we look at the evolution of mankind and the fact that fish have been there forever. So obviously there's a synergy there. So with omega-3, deficiency can develop within 7 to 10 days of not having dietary exposure. there is no one that I've ever treated who has enough exposure to good quality fish in order to reach their omega-3 requirements. And this is a big issue as well, because a lot of our dietary sources of fish are contaminated. Unfortunately, the sea is quite a toxic place, especially when we're looking at fish and, the fact that they're much lower down on the food chain. So contamination is a really big problem when we're looking at how to improve omega-3 through our diet, because really, if you're going to be relying on food sources, you should be utilizing wild caught fish. And if it's not wild caught, that it's sustainably sourced in one way or another. A lot of people consume a lot of salmon to be able to focus on their omega-3s. Farmed salmon is one of the most toxic fish that you could touch. It's very high in PCBs, which is polychlorinated bisphenols, which is an environmental pollutant, and it's off the chain in farmed salmon. So often our exposure to some of the food sources that we'd hope to be getting omega-3 from is actually exposing us to much more damaging things. So this is where I think supplements are the most beneficial thing to utilize, because we can get a predictable outcome and we know the concentration. When we look at dietary sources of fish, the actual EPA to DHA ratio is very low. So for example, tuna, there's maybe like 90 milligrams of EPA in that. To put that in context, I usually use capsules that would have 650 milligrams of EPA per capsule, and I'm getting patients to take several of them. So we need a lot of omega-3 in order to have a therapeutic outcome. And I don't really think that the diet is the way to go about it right now, because the sea is very toxic. So unless you can afford very good quality premium fish and can eat that 2 to 3 times a week, then utilizing a supplement is definitely more economical and more predictable in its outcome. Most people that I talk to don't eat fish regularly. I also don't eat fish regularly. I don't trust fish sources. I use supplements because I do think that it's safer, because they've been tested, and we know that there's no huge amounts of chemicals in them when we're looking at supplements. So with the diet, a lot of people are not consuming fish because they don't like it or they don't have access to it. And a lot of people I talk to are also on a largely plant-based diet. So they're not consuming fish at all or any animal product. And this can create quite a discrepancy with omega-3 and omega-6. So omega-6 is also an essential fatty acid, and it's in larger amounts in plant-based fats. So if you're living a plant-based diet, you have higher omega-6 than omega-3. And this is problematic because omega-6 is quite pro-inflammatory, meaning that it encourages inflammatory processes. It can be converted into something called arachidonic acid, which is really inflammatory. It can encourage prostaglandins and all sorts of inflammatory processes to occur. And omega-3 is what helps to offset that. So if you have a diet that is largely omega-6 based, which by the way, most people do, even if you're not plant-based, the average Western diet is full of saturated fats and vegetable oils. So most people have an omega-6 ratio that is way too high. And this encourages inflammatory processes. So it's really important to be able to help to offset that, especially in plant-based diets. You will see if you consume a lot of plant-based stuff or are focusing on plants when it comes to omega-3, that alpha linoleic acid is what is put there as omega-3 when it comes to plants. And this requires conversion in order to become EPA, which is a bioactive chemical basically in fish oil that actually has therapeutic outcomes. So the issue here is that we do require our body to convert ALA into EPA, and EPA is what has all the benefits. So the conversion of that is quite inefficient in the body, and there's no way to measure how much you're actually converting. So there's some studies that show it's around 20% of your overall intake of ALA will be converted into EPA. So that's really very low if we're looking at how to support the skin through nutrition. 20% of your ALA intake is very low. And this is assuming that it's there at all. So this can be a really big problem when we're looking at plant-based diets and at the average Western diet, which is, as I said, full of saturated fats that are very inflammatory. Another issue that we can face with omega-3s is the metabolism of fat. So if you have a congested liver, if you have digestive issues, if you get symptomatic after consuming fats, then this can be all indicating that you have issues with actually utilizing fat, and that might come from issues with the liver or with the gut, or potentially with having lower fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin A and vitamin D, which help with omega-3 and with fat actually being utilized by the body. So I always assess your digestive capacity if there's any issues with your omega-3 intake and utilization. We need omegas in order to help with that moisture retention of the skin, to reduce that transepidermal water loss, and to encourage healthy sebum production and healthy skin cell shedding. Otherwise, we can end up with something called hyperkeratinization, which is where there's an increased amount of cell shedding within the follicular unit of the skin, and that becomes basically clogged and creates a breeding ground for acne. I'm just checking the chat box. DHA, I'm going to answer these questions at the end. So EPA and DHA are the active parts of fish oil that we use to predict a certain outcome. I'll be talking more about that in a moment. Dietary sources of omega-3 are fish, yay, good quality fish. Cod liver is excellent because it also has vitamin A and vitamin D in it. From a plant-based perspective, you're looking specifically at walnut, flaxseed, linseed, and mustard seed. They all are much higher in ALA, so it's important to focus on those things if you're not already, because that can help to correct the omega-3 to omega-6 balance in a plant-based diet. This is a patient who literally used fish oil. So on the left is her when she booked in with me one-on-one. We were doing some hormonal assessment because she was post-pill, and that was going to take 4 weeks for us to get to the right part of her cycle to do the testing. So in the meantime, I sent her my fish oil, my EFA Pure, and she started taking a higher dose of that because she had acne and eczema. And this is the photo that she sent me before we actually started her one-on-one personalized treatment. So on the right is her 5 weeks after just doing fish oil. You can see the improvement in the congestion and the inflammation, which is all because of the ingredients of the EFA Pure. So you can get amazing changes happening when you give the body the ingredients it needs to function. Now, the other really important mineral is zinc. Can you believe it's already past 7:30? I knew I couldn't do this in half an hour. So with zinc, the major issues that I see with zinc are all pathological. Like, I test most of my patients for serum zinc, which is zinc in the blood, and most of the time it is deficient or right at the low end of normal. I also will look at hair tissue mineral analysis when I'm looking at minerals as well, but I do start with blood because it's cheaper and easier for the patient to do. But most of the time I see that people are low in zinc, and this is relative to all sorts of aspects with your health. So zinc is a very important mineral when it comes to viruses and bacteria. It is antibacterial and antiviral. So if you have immune issues, or you've had long-standing chronic illness, if you've got immune deficiency, if you're constantly getting sick, then your requirement for zinc is going to be higher anyway. So really, really important that we're looking at the overall perspective of your health, because this may explain why you're deficient in zinc or why you've got lower end levels of zinc. We also need much more zinc going through puberty. Often a deficiency will develop during puberty. So I always ask my patients if they have stretch marks or if they had stretch marks going through puberty. That can tell us about the status of zinc at the time. So both your pink and white stretch marks will tell a different story about zinc deficiency. And a lot of people aren't aware of that at all. You can also have little white spots that appear on the nails as well, which can show a time where zinc has basically been used up. This often coincides with periods of feeling run down or being sick. If you have problem skin as well, then you will have an increased requirement for zinc. So where there is any kind of infective nature, there's an increased requirement for zinc. And this includes infection on the skin, particularly with acne, because we're looking at an overgrowth of Cutibacterium acnes bacteria. So if you have acne or eczema or any other issue occurring with the skin, any other inflammatory kind of issue, then you will likely have an increased requirement for zinc that may not be getting met through your diet. I do dietary analysis with my patients who I work with one-on-one, and most of the time the amount of zinc that they're getting from a really good diet where they're eating quite a lot of food and we focused on nutrition over a period of time, they might be getting like 9 milligrams of zinc a day. And the requirement needed to actually heal a wound, like wounds on the skin, is much higher than that. So in a supplemental range, we're looking at doses up to, I go up to like 50 milligrams, but some people go higher, which I don't recommend unless you're actually being treated by a health professional. So depending on your current state of health and your history, you may have an increased requirement for zinc, which may explain why your skin is constantly in that cycle of being problematic. Zinc deficiency can cause and contribute to acne and eczema and dermatitis. There can be a big issue with dietary inhibition. So the amount of zinc that you absorb from your food or from supplements can be impacted by phytic acid or dietary phytates, which bind to zinc and other minerals like iron and inhibit their absorption altogether through the gastrointestinal tract. This is another major issue that I see in plant-based diets because phytic acid is high in a lot of the plant-based proteins that people consume. So it's high in beans and legumes and nuts and seeds and red wine, unfortunately. So often they're intaking quite a large amount of dietary phytates and ending up mineral deficient because they're not able to actually absorb a lot of the minerals that are in their food. Plants create phytic acid as a protective mechanism so that they can bind all the minerals that they have within them and they can be passed through the digestive tract of a human, pooped out, and then grow again. So it's the plant trying to protect itself, but we need to really pay close attention to phytates in the diet when we're looking at issues with zinc. And this is something that I work very closely with my vegan patients. Ways to reduce phytates in the food sources is to soak them. So this is why activated nuts and seeds are all the rage because they've had phytates reduced. There's still phytates in it, but the amount is just reduced. So really important to pay attention to that if you have consistently low zinc. If there's inflammation in the gastrointestinal tract, so if you have gut issues, then you will also be compromised when we're looking at your mineral absorption. And this is because where there's gastrointestinal inflammation, the epithelial lining or the gut lining obviously becomes inflamed, and we reduce the surface area within the gut that we can absorb anything from. So gastrointestinal inflammation is a really, really major issue as well. And phytates actually will also contribute to this. Medications can also reduce your zinc. So specifically here, unfortunately, antibiotics, so doxycycline and other tetracycline antibiotics, which are prescribed first and foremost for skin problems, they will reduce your serum levels of zinc. And the oral contraceptive pill will also reduce your zinc levels, as well as vitamin C, vitamin E, and other things that are really important for skin health as well. So having a history of antibiotic use, currently being on antibiotics, specifically the tetracycline family, having the pill, other things like steroids, certain ACE inhibitors, they can all reduce and impact your zinc. So it's important to also address this to understand what level of zinc you might require through supplements in order to create a change for your skin. There can also be antagonistic metals and minerals. So this means that there are metals and minerals that will inhibit zinc actually being able to take up space in the tissue. And this is specifically heavy metals and minerals, for example, like copper, which will fight for the same space within the tissue as zinc. There can also be issues with the absorbability of particular forms of zinc. So a lot of retail items that I see are made with zinc oxide, which is like the cheapest, grossest, nastiest form of zinc that you could use, but it's cheap as, which is why your retail supplements are cheap because you're not really absorbing anything. There's also issues with zinc oxide nanoparticles as well. So What form the zinc is in a supplement will also determine how absorbable it is and how able your body is to utilize it. We also need to have enough in a supplement as well. A lot of retail supplements that I see have 2 to 5 milligrams of zinc, which is not really enough to make a difference if you have like actually problematic skin. If you have acne, 2 milligrams of zinc is not going to touch anything. So it's important to also understand the dose to be utilizing if you have problem skin. We need zinc for collagen production. Zinc helps us to create particular peptides that we need for skin and wound healing. And it also has anti-inflammatory effects as well. So there are a lot of studies of zinc being used, especially for acne and eczema, and all the benefits that it can have, mostly orally. Using zinc topically can still be helpful, but is not as effective as oral use. Dietary sources of zinc include organ meat, so liver, brain, if you're into that. They are very, very rich, nutritious sources of food, as long as you can, make it in a way that you can actually consume it. Oysters are the highest dietary source of zinc. Having just a couple of oysters like once a week is something that I tell my patients to do so that they don't have to rely on supplements as much. Pumpkin seeds are also very high in zinc, though they do have to be soaked in order for you to be able to absorb some of the zinc in there because of the phytic acid content. Egg yolks and whole grains are the other, major sources of zinc. Having a healthy diet will provide you with an adequate amount of zinc. But as I said, if you do have problematic skin, then you will have an increased requirement for it to begin with. And we usually can't reach those therapeutic levels through diet alone, which is where we look at supplements. So I wanted to talk you through what sorts of supplements are out there and what to look for so that you can utilize something that's actually going to make a difference for your skin. This is a patient who I worked with for a short period of time. You can see the changes in her skin are amazing, and she's not wearing makeup in either of those photos. This patient actually had glandular fever when she came to see me. I didn't know. We did her blood work and I called her and was like, "Are you incredibly sick right now?" And she certainly was. So she had zinc deficiency, which was due to the fact that she had an infection at the time. And she also had a history of antibiotic use and is on the pill, actually. Like, her skin was like this when she was on the pill. So you can imagine how heartbroken she was. We worked on zinc and immune regulation, and she responded within 2 months, and that's it. She's done. Her skin is self-managed. So these are the results that you can get when you actually start working with therapeutic doses of minerals needed to encourage wound healing. This is a patient who is a vegan, and you can see she didn't have like inflammatory skin, but you can see the changes in her complexion as well when she started utilizing omega-3. So she was happy to utilize my EFAs because they're all purity tested and sustainable, and just the changes in her complexion she was really happy with, because it was very difficult for her to get anything that was actually going to change those tiny little bumps occurring. So really, really good results is there. Really good results for her with just incorporating omega-3 and helping to improve that skin barrier function and sebum quality as well. So using food as medicine, ensuring that you're consuming fats is really important. A lot of people are on low fat diets, and this makes you deficient in fat soluble nutrients that are needed in order for us to utilize omega-3s, and also needed for skin cell health and function, especially vitamin A and vitamin E. Having a low glycemic index diet is also helpful, especially if you have inflammatory acne that seems to be worsened by food. Insulin resistance is a really big factor behind some people's acne presentation, and this is where, as I said, you'll see that it's worsened by food. Low GI foods are higher in fiber. They are generally more nutritious because they're less processed, and consuming low GI foods helps to correct the glycemic load that your body has to deal with, which can then reduce the amount of insulin that your body's producing, which can trigger acne. So I have done an entire like masterclass around gut health and food, which is why I'm keeping these recommendations real basic because there's a lot to assess as well on a personal level as to what sorts of foods and things are actually going to work for you according to your constitution and your body type and your history and your state of health. But these recommendations can work for everyone. Eating lower GI foods, having good healthy fats in the diet, and consuming whole foods where they're not processed. This way they're retaining their natural nutrition value. The gut health webinar is available on replay, so you can find access to that through the link in bio on my Instagram or on the website. So onto supplements. Now, I really want to get this information out there. There are quite a few things that you need to look at when you're choosing a supplement. Long story short, the cheaper it is, generally the grosser it is. Cheap ingredients equal a cheap product. And when you're looking at really influencing the skin, it's important that you're choosing premium products that are actually going to have a therapeutic outcome. So when we're looking at omega-3 supplements, it's important to look at the concentration of EPA and DHA. EPA and DHA are what like all the studies are done on in regards to how omega-3 assists the body, not just the skin, but also the brain, the adrenals, like everything. So it's important to look at the concentration of EPA to DHA because a low concentration fish oil is not going to be providing enough bioactive ingredients to have a predictable outcome for the skin. You'd be surprised at how low some of the concentrations of EPA to DHA are. And this is usually because the source of the fish oil is poor. So for example, you might be looking at an item that has usually fish oil has 1 to 1.5 grams of total omega-3 within it. Then it will have a breakdown of what the EPA DHA concentration is. If the EPA DHA concentration constitutes like 300 milligrams of that total omega-3, then where is the rest of the gram? So it's important to look at concentration. The higher the concentration, the higher the quality of the product, and the more predictable the outcome is, and the less stuff you have to take. Some fish oils like Blackmore's fish oil, like if patients are going to use that, they have to take 10 to 12 of them for it to have any kind of outcome that I need. So it's important to look at quality and also to look at how much you then have to take if it's a low concentration item. It's important to check for purity as well with fish oil because, as I said, the sea is quite toxic. Usually fish oils are tested to parts per million for contaminants like polychlorinated bisphenols and heavy metals. It's really important that you're looking at how pure the item is, and that should be advertised as a selling point if it's something that they're proud of. There should be no fishy odor when you're utilizing fish oil. Fish and any oil oxidizes, right? So it's really important that you're not smelling like a really fishy odorous smell from your supplements, because that means that the fish oil is actually oxidized and is pro-inflammatory. Having items that are enterically coated is also very beneficial when you're looking at fish oil, because this means that you have a slower release time basically of the supplement, which allows for increased absorption of the fish oil. Sustainably sourced is very important for the environment and also for the quality of the supplement that you end up with. And if you suffer with hypersensitivity or with eczema, then it's important to also look for a preservative-free fish oil. The only way that fish oil can be made preservative-free is with vitamin E or like a rosemary extract. Usually sulfites are added to fish oil in order to maintain their integrity and stop them oxidizing. But for some people, this can trigger reactions, especially if you're sulfite sensitive. So for example, if you get a rash after you drink wine or something like that that's high in sulfites. I've done a little comparison of products so that you can see just how different quality is. I've slightly blurred out the brands. Here you can see the pricing of these items as well, and how cheap and expensive they can be and what they're actually providing. So here per capsule, we're looking at 325 milligrams of EPA and 225 milligrams of DHA. this is not very high from a therapeutic perspective. And usually with omega-3, we're looking from a therapeutic perspective at using anywhere from 3 to 10 grams of omega-3 per day, provided that it's a high concentration of EPA and DHA. So here you would have to be taking like 10 of these in order for it to be therapeutic. And obviously when you add that up, that works out to be quite an expensive supplement, even though it might look cheap in the bottle itself. When you understand the concentration of it, you can see that it's a bit subpar. Here we've got a plant-based omega. So I wanted to chuck one of those in there because I assume there's some vegans on here. As you can see, there's no specific EPA concentration because EPA cannot, it doesn't come from plants. It needs to come from fish or be converted from ALA. So we don't know what the EPA concentration is, but we do know that overall there's around 500 milligrams of omega-6 and around the same of omega-3. This is not a whole lot at all, especially for $4 a day. So important to be looking at the concentration of EPA and DHA and how much it's actually going to cost in order to get that therapeutic dose. This is why I made my own supplements, literally because I needed them to exist. And because it was getting ridiculous having patients take like 12 fish oil a day. So when we compare this to the EFA Pure, which is the Acne and Eczema Clinic brand, we've got nearly 1.5 grams of total omega-3, 650 milligrams of EPA, and 400 milligrams of DHA, and it's naturally preserved with vitamin E. So there's 25 IU of vitamin E per capsule. Vitamin E acts as an antioxidant. It is depleted if you've been on the pill and stuff like that as well. And there's an increased requirement for vitamin E where there's any kind of oxidative stress or inflammation occurring. So there's an additional therapeutic benefit to actually having this product naturally preserved with vitamin E. They're enterically coated for increased absorption and sustainably sourced as well. These guys are made in Canada. And they are purity tested to parts per billion, not per million, so that we can ensure that it's the highest purity, which is obviously very important when we're using an item for a therapeutic base. So sometimes people ask me like, oh, your fish oil are expensive compared to other fish oils, and hence this conversation ensues. And that's why I'm so glad to be having this conversation with all of you tonight, because understanding the concentration of an item is what helps you to understand the value of it. And as you can see, if patients are taking 10 or so of these, then it works out to be a lot more expensive than just a higher concentration and higher purity product. So important to look for those things when you're looking at an omega-3 item. Look at the EPA DHA. That's what gives you the true breakdown of how therapeutic the item is going to be. The total omega-3 in there is really only important when you know that it's actually got a lot of actives in it. So your EPA and DHA constitutions should equal a very similar amount of total omega-3 in the product. Picking skin foods as well. So obviously we're looking at items that support collagen production, so things that contain vitamin C. Some items will contain hyaluronic acid, which can also help with collagen production. We're looking at things that contain zinc. In my opinion, zinc, vitamin C, silica, collagen are the most important. It's important to understand what sorts of doses you need of these things though. So, and making sure that the item obviously doesn't have fillers and sugars and preservatives and stuff in it that could damage your microbiome. So when we're looking at these sorts of supplements, these are the most common ones that I see being utilized. So I was trying to find something that I could get my patients to take long term, and therefore it needed to be like a retail item, so that because everything that I prescribe as a practitioner, they have to see me one-on-one for me to do that legally. So I'm trying to find a retail item, and I came across this one and was like, oh, that's amazing. It's got zinc and vitamin C and it's got the collagen peptides in it. Like, this is great. And then when I was actually looking at the concentration of those therapeutic ingredients, I don't even know how you're legally allowed to say that it is the source of zinc when it's got 1.8 milligrams of zinc in it. Like, that's not going to do anything for someone with problem skin. And this is where so much trust is lost in the marketplace, because you're advertised that these things are going to have a particular outcome because of the ingredients, but whether the ingredients are actually at a dose that's going to do anything is a completely different story. So here we're looking at items that contain collagen peptides. Now, the Collagen Beauty is made with bovine collagen peptides, whereas the Glow is made with marine collagen peptides. And as you can see, there's more of them, like there's 5 grams as opposed to 3 grams. Now, when you're looking at collagen, it's important that you're looking at the absorbability of the collagen source. So marine collagen peptides are a lot more expensive than bovine collagen peptides, which is also where you'll probably see a price difference when you're looking at products based on whether they have marine or bovine sources in it. There, unfortunately, are no vegan sources of collagen. So here, when we look at studies in regards to collagen, 2.5 grams is the dose that is utilized in most studies in regards to the effects that it can have on the skin, on increased dermal thickening, on nail growth, on increased wound healing capacity, on anti-aging benefits and reduction of fine lines and wrinkles. So you need at least 2.5 grams in order for that collagen to do anything. And it's really important to know that, because some products will say they've got collagen just as like a marketing gimmick, and there may not actually be enough in there for it to do anything. If you're consuming collagen, you should notice that your nails are growing. That shows a good quality collagen. Marine collagen is more easily absorbed by about 1.5 times more easily absorbed than bovine collagen, which is why people will opt for marine collagen when they're creating a premium product, because there's increased absorbability and it's more specific for the skin in that regard. When you're looking at zinc, be aware that a lot of things are advertised in respect to the recommended daily intake of a particular nutrient. You should be getting your recommended daily intake of nutrients through your diet. When you're looking at actually changing a skin condition, the recommended daily intake is not enough, girl. It's not enough at all. So this, once again, is how products can be marketed as having like 15% of your RDI of zinc, but really that means there's less than 2 milligrams of zinc in the item, and that is not going to have a therapeutic outcome, especially if you're zinc deficient or if you have a high phytate diet or any of those factors that contribute to zinc deficiency. So when I'm utilizing zinc in clinic, I will obviously use blood work to understand what dose the patient will require. What I would give a patient who's got okay levels of serum zinc is very different to what I'd give someone who's deficient. So it's important to know your history when it comes to exactly how much zinc you should utilize. In the items that I have created to support skin, I've put in quite a high dose of zinc because it's targeted at people with problem skin who need those higher levels of zinc. So in retail items, you're only allowed to put 12 milligrams of elemental zinc in each item, like in each serve, because obviously otherwise people can have problems. Zinc being used in the long term in high doses is unsafe. You should not be using high doses of things over a long period of time without being supervised. And this is why retail items, can sometimes take the piss because if there were large amounts of therapeutic ingredients in it, people will hurt themselves and sue someone and win. So it's important as well that the public is protected. But when you're looking at how can I fix my skin, what is available in a retail item is simply not enough. When we're looking at vitamin C, once again, the recommended daily intake of vitamin C is only 90 milligrams, which is not a whole lot at all. And considering we don't store vitamin C, like we need more than that. So here, really, we want vitamin C at much higher doses. You can see over here with the competing product, there's 1/4 gram of vitamin C in that, which is going to be a lot more beneficial. But just collagen and vitamin C is not going to do a whole lot for problem skin. It will for anti-aging benefits, but if you've got problem skin and have that increased wound healing requirement, this is not going to be enough to cut it. You really do need the zinc. So I created an item to be able to fit the bracket of all of this, and for people with problem skin to be able to utilize something that's actually therapeutic without having to see a practitioner one-on-one for it to be prescribed. So I created Formula S2, which stands for Skin Formula, and you take 2 teaspoons a day. Nice and simple. So when we look at this item, there is the 2.5 grams of marine collagen peptides. There's a nice big dose of spirulina. So this is per serve being 2 teaspoons. So there's a nice big dose of spirulina just to help to provide some chlorophyll and some nutrition. Spirulina was first used by NASA to help with nutrition of astronauts. So it's quite an infamous little superfood, and very beneficial to have that added nutrition, especially with B vitamins that spirulina contains, in order to support lots of different functions within the skin and the cells. We've got silica in there at a really good dose as well. And we've got zinc, most importantly, at quite a good dose. So 24 milligrams of zinc is what I would prescribe clinically for people. It is safe to use 24 milligrams of zinc in the longer term. It's not too high. You are getting more than the recommended daily intake. And for a teenager, really the upper end of the limit is around like 35 milligrams. So it's important to understand when you're utilizing zinc in these sorts of doses, that there can be issues if you already have too much zinc. If you're eating 10 oysters a day and you're getting your zinc requirement, it's important to look at those factors that can impact it. But as I said, I have not really treated anyone who doesn't have zinc deficiency or low levels of zinc that needs clinical support. And if you have problem skin, that is most likely a reflection of that zinc status being suboptimal as well. So this is designed for people with problem skin, not designed for people who have amazing, perfect skin and are just looking for like only anti-aging benefits. We've also got a really good dose of vitamin C in there as well. And you should be getting vitamin C from a healthy diet as well, with fruits and vegetables in it. I haven't put in a massive amount of vitamin C because usually bowel tolerance is around 1 to 2 grams, and I don't want to mess around with people potentially having adverse reactions to the product. So per day, it works out to be a third of the price of the coffee that I get. And these ingredients that are at a dose that's actually going to assist with natural collagen production, as well as having the added collagen to begin with, and is actually going to assist wound healing. So very much indicated for that problem skin type. And really important to be looking at these things when you're looking at what sorts of things you can utilize to support your skin through nutritional therapy. This is one of my absolute favorite patients ever. As you can see, when she started with me, she had very inflammatory acne, and this was her actually on antibiotics. She'd been on antibiotics for quite some time, and she had issues with zinc. We have worked on zinc and copper ratio, and this patient is kind of what inspired me to create my own line, like my own supportive items, because I got to a point in treatment with her where I was like, I need to see you, girl. Like, you know your drivers, like we've done all the self-management, you've got this. But she needed therapeutic zinc. She needed an item that had at least 20 milligrams of zinc in it that she could have every day, because she needs that. And there was nothing out there. I then learned through the development of my own product that you are limited to that 12 milligrams of zinc per serve in a retail item, which is why they're not really therapeutic unless you're taking more of it. And I had her originally on like 3 products to do the one thing that Formula S2 can do. And that's why I created Formula S2, because I needed this to be simple for people. I didn't want them to have to take a separate collagen and then separate vitamin C and then a separate zinc. Like, I wanted it all together, so it was super simple for them to self-manage. And this is her on the far right, completely self-managed. So she does all her own skin health now through her day-to-day food, the changes she's made in her lifestyle, and through supporting herself with fish oil and Formula S2. So it's made her life a lot easier and made her prescription a lot less, and meant that she's not taking a whole bunch of different supplements just to get the outcome that one supplement could have. So my products are developed out of a need. It's because I need it clinically to give people. When you're looking at what you could do to be able to understand your skin requirements more deeply. The one thing that I would recommend would be serum zinc testing. So you're just getting it tested through the blood. This should be done fasted so that what you're eating or taking with supplements is not going to influence the reading, and the reading is going to be accurate. Just be aware that with zinc, you should be in the upper percentile of the ranges given. So I usually am looking for zinc to be around 15 to 18. The low end is 10. Most people are at a 10, if they're lucky, a 12 or deficient. So this can help you to understand like how safe it is to consume items that have that higher therapeutic dose of zinc. And this is a very good thing to have retested as well when you're using a supplement, just to ensure that you're not taking too much of it. So just checking the chat box. Okay. I'm just going to answer all the questions in 2 seconds. We're getting right to the end now. So serum zinc testing. There are also tests that I have listed in the hormone masterclass as well, where we went super deep about hormones and their interrelation to skin. So there's a whole pathology cheat sheet that comes with that masterclass that talks not only about zinc, but also about what hormones are helpful to be tested. Obviously, working with a health professional means that you don't need to worry about all of that testing, but you should expect that some kind of testing is going to be done, because otherwise it's a guessing game with your biochemical drivers, which just elongates treatment time. So I have created a wonderful little bundle of the EFA Pure and the Formula S2, because they are designed to be taken together, and they are designed for people with problem skin. And I want to see more people taking this sort of support before they, book in with me one-on-one. If you don't have hugely inflammatory, problematic skin, then you would be amazed at what some of these base nutrients can do for your skin, no matter where they're coming from. If you want to find other products that have those ingredients, please do so. I want to see more people informed about what their skin nutrition is, so that they can actually give their body the ingredients needed to heal. The more that people can find support for themselves, the less traumatic the whole experience of problem skin is going to be. And I really don't think it's too much to ask of myself or the world that we change the forefront of what the roller coaster of problem skin is. So with the Skin Essentials bundle, you can get both of these items together for $179. They are available separately as well, but you save a little bit of money with the bundle. And to celebrate the new availability of these items, and to encourage them to get into the hands of more people in the general public who are not seeing me one-to-one as patients, we're doing free express shipping Australia-wide, and this will end in like 2 weeks' time. You will also receive, if you have been on this masterclass or you're on the replay, you will receive my free ebook for you, which is not usually free or available at all to people who aren't my patients. This is a resource I use in the clinic to help to build the foundations of a healthy lifestyle for people. So it's all the stuff that I assume everyone knows about healthy living, but shockingly not many people know. It's called The Essentials. It's around 35 pages. It's an ebook, and you'll be getting that as well if you are part of this little dealio. That will also end at the same time as free shipping, but the Skin Essentials bundle will be available for a long time. Just obviously the special little add-ons around it will end. So how can I help you outside of utilizing items that are specific for skin healing that I've developed? You can do the free naturopathic skin appraisal, which helps you to understand what your specific biochemical drivers are. This is 100% free and comes with a personalized report for you as well. And this has been designed to help to improve education around what is actually causing your skin problems, so you can find the right help and the right person to help you. I also do free discovery calls for anyone that's got questions about working with me or wants to talk about what the path forward would look like for clear skin. I do prefer that you've done the naturopathic skin appraisal before we chat, but I do 20-minute calls with people and they're available on certain days of the week. I've also got a bunch of masterclasses. This one is free. There are other free ones. There are paid ones. It depends on how extensive the information is, which, as you can see, I struggle to rein in. And lastly, you can also work with me one-on-one. It is amazing to do a discovery call before then, so you understand the process and we can clarify any questions that you have about it as well. I do have a wait list for new patients, so if that's something that you're wanting to explore, then you can always get in touch. Now, on to Q&A. There's already a bunch of questions here, and I'm going to keep the recording going so that if anyone has similar questions on replay, they can know the answers. So DHA. DHA is one of the active constituents of omega-3. DHA is more so important for brain health. When we're looking at skin health, there's more studies on EPA. So omega-3, 6, 9 plus DHA is just a marketing gimmick, really. If it's plant-based though, just be aware that the omega-3 content is not going to be EPA. So this sounds like it's a plant-based omega support item. The gut health webinar, as I said, is on the website. Recommended milligram for concentrated omega-3. So I'm not sure if this was asked before I went through those comparisons, but what you're looking for is basically that the total omega-3 content of a capsule is very similar to what the breakdown of EPA and DHA is. So for example, in EFA Pure, there's 1.3 grams of total omega-3, and the breakdown of active constituents puts that at like just over a gram. So there's only a little over 200 milligram discrepancy there with omega-3 and the actual active constituents. When you're looking at other products that are less concentrated, you might be looking at 1.3 grams of total omega-3, but the constituents of EPA, DHA might total 200 milligrams. So you can see the difference in concentration there is massive, and therefore the amount you would have to take is much higher of a low concentration item. Is the collagen used in Formula S2 clinically proven long-term? All the studies that have been done on that particular collagen are done over a 4 and 8 week period, and then the results have been maintained over an 8 week post-study. So as far as I know, because of the particular collagen that I have used, I use the research associated with that particular form of collagen. I don't use research associated with other forms of collagen. So the most is what you've said is post 8 weeks of that study being done, results were maintained. So as far as I know, that's as much of a checkup as they've done so far, though they might have more in the works. How long do your clients take supplements to see results? My one-on-one patients obviously have a very specific supplemental regime based on their unique biochemistry because they're working with me one-on-one. So a lot of my patients improve within 1 to 2 visits into treatment, depending on what the drivers are as well. If we're working with hormones and gut microbiome, it can take longer to achieve results because of the time it takes for the gut to heal, especially if we're working with infection, depending on how damaged the skin is. If we're working with hormones, we're looking at minimum 3-month period to see any kind of change with hormones because that's the life cycle of the egg in the ovary. So it depends on what the biochemical drivers are. When I work with patients one-on-one though, I do give them a time frame of how long we're going to be working together. There is always an end to treatment. I once did the zinc test where I put liquid in my mouth. Is that effective? No, it's not effective. You can test zinc through blood or through hair tissue. Does the nutritional advice apply to people with inflammatory and or non-inflammatory acne? Yes, low glycemic index is like dieting. So Mediterranean nutrition principles are the most studied in regards to acne. So yes, low glycemic index, it's less applicable if you don't have insulin sensitivity, and you can do a test for that, a blood test that goes over 2 hours. I do have another masterclass where I talk a lot more deeply about food, so I haven't gone too deep on that because it's important to understand the particular aspects that will influence what dietary advice is most specific for you. In my opinion, General dietary advice: eat good fats, eat whole foods, eat lower GI options, which are higher in fiber and more nutritious and less processed. That's it. Eat vegetables, eat fruit, eat good quality meat if you're not plant-based. And you should be eating more plants than you're eating meat anyway. So that's the most general, solid advice that can work for anyone. When you're looking at particular people and giving really specific dietary advice, it's important that they're actually consulted with so that you can understand their history, their digestive capacity, any intolerances they might have. If they've got autoimmunity, like all those sorts of things are really important. What their workout regime is, like what their caloric intake should be. So I don't give specific nutritional advice unless I've seen someone one-on-one, because you can be doing stuff that's not so great for your constitution if you're just applying any kind of general advice to yourself. I have previously taken Metagenics vegan DHA EPA, which is 600 milligrams. Can this be a good vegan alternative? Yes, there are good vegan alternatives that usually utilize algae. So there's also like a Melrose one or something like that. You do just have to take quite a large amount in order to offset the omega-6 that you're getting through a vegan diet. Can your S2 formula be recommended for teenage acne? Hell yes. Hell yes. The formula S2 is designed to be able to help problematic skin, so 100%. In regards to the EFA Pure supplement, how can you take this supplement if you aren't very good at swallowing large capsules? Look, it's hard to get fish oil to be in anything other than those large capsules, because most fish oils have over a gram of fish oil per capsule, and that's quite a lot to contain. There's not much that can be done to reduce the capsule size without affecting the concentration of the item. So if you have issues swallowing large capsules, unless you like the idea of biting into a fish oil, I'd be looking at a liquid fish oil. I utilize practitioner only brands that have a higher concentration, but you're still having to have around like 30 mil of a high quality practitioner only fish oil in order to get the same sort of concentration that you'd get through supplements. So like through capsules. So an option would be to split it open and get the contents out, or to utilize a liquid fish oil. What type of zinc compound do I use? Zinc gluconate is used in the formula S2. Zinc gluconate is a highly absorbable form of zinc. Other good forms of zinc include zinc methionine, zinc citrate, and zinc amino acid chelates. What other questions do we have? If someone is on the contraceptive pill for problematic skin and isn't game to go off, is formula S2 a good choice to take also? Hell yes, you will need the zinc even more. So hell yes. For some patients, so I utilize formula S2 for my patients as well, because it's literally everything I need as a clinician. And for some patients, I will have them take a higher dose of it. So I'll have them take 3 teaspoons. To be able to help to offset the zinc that they might be losing through medications or through the pill. So 100%, if you still have problematic skin and you're on the pill, then that's not great. But you have even more of a reason to utilize the zinc in that item, 100%, because you will have decreased serum zinc being on the pill. If you don't have inflammatory acne, just constant blackheads and large pores, are your products too strong? No, but I would recommend that you utilize fish oil just to improve the sebum quality and the sebum production and assist with that congestion. So I have people ask me this quite a lot, like, I don't have acne, I've just got blackheads, and utilizing a higher dose fish oil can really assist, especially if you're not utilizing anything at the moment. Like if you're having no omega-3s, then I recommend using around 3 capsules a day of the EFA Pure to see how that assists. Should I stop taking doxycycline? That's up to you, girl. That is up to you. It's going to depend on a lot of different factors for you. I can't give you medical advice, and ultimately the choice when it comes to medications should be an informed choice, up to you. You should be aware that doxycycline will reduce your zinc, so you will have an increased requirement for zinc, especially if you've been on doxycycline for a long time. I also talk a bit about doxycycline in my free acne masterclass. So if you haven't seen that, it might be helpful to have a look at that so that you can understand different factors that affect the skin and how much to expect from doxycycline. Usually doxy, though it is also prescribed for eczema, usually I see it prescribed for acne. And once people stop it, usually the problem returns because it's acting as an antibiotic if it's at a higher dose, like 30 to 50 milligrams. Or sometimes even more than that. Some people are on like 150 milligrams. It's acting as an antibacterial, which is obviously influencing the skin because there's a bacterial infection when you're looking at acne, and sometimes secondary infection with eczema. But the problem is not bacterial overgrowth. The problem is much deeper within the skin. It's that there's sebaceous glands that are being overstimulated, producing too much sebum, poor quality sebum, oxidation, and then bacterial overgrowth. Bacterial overgrowth is literally like the tip of the iceberg. Though if doxycycline is prescribed at a lower dose, it's actually working as an anti-inflammatory, which just would go to show how much inflammation is tied into your picture. Can you consume too much omega-3? Yes, you can. Omega-3s increase, like they help to thin the blood. So yes, you can, if you take really high doses, you can have increased risk of bleeding. And if you're menstruating, you can have heavier cycles or heavier bleeding, like the viscosity of the blood can change. I personally have noticed that as well because I take a shit ton of fish oil. Are your products pregnancy safe? The Formula S2 is the EFA Pure does have vitamin E in it, so I would avoid that if pregnant. Would your products be beneficial for rosacea skin? Yes, the use of zinc is studied in regards to rosacea. There usually is a link with gastrointestinal inflammation that's affecting the skin when we're looking at rosacea and chronic inflammation. The EFA Pure would be very much indicated because of its anti-inflammatory benefits and also for the vitamin E being an antioxidant. So both of them would be helpful, yes, and I would love to see if you are utilizing them. I'd love to see how you're progressing. Okay, 8:30. Oh my God, Emily. I was like, I'm going to keep it to half an hour. 8:25. If anyone has any more questions, please pop them in the chat box before we finish up. And thank you so much for staying with me. I hope that the information has been really helpful for you. And I'd also love to know what like the biggest gem has been so that we can get that message out to more people as well. Thank you. Thank you for the feedback. That's awesome. Thanks, everyone. Oh, awesome. I'm really glad that you're more aware of the vegan aspect of things now. It's honestly, yeah, one of the biggest things I see when I'm treating a vegan. I'm just like, girl, are you open to taking fish oil? No, but we just work on rectifying through the diet. So really focusing on that walnut oil, linseed oil, flaxseed, mustard seed, like get as much of that into as you can. And that will help to offset the omega-6. Yay, awesome. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm really, 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 really humbled to be able to bring this info to you. If you're not already following me on Instagram, then make sure that you do that so you can get more updates of masterclasses coming up and of lots of free little tips and advice and promos and all the rest of it. I'll be emailing you all with the replay link as well so that you can watch again if you'd like. And I'll also be sending you some of the codes for the free specials that we've got. So the free shipping and everything on those items too. Thank you so much, everyone. I'll call it a night. Goodbye.